for a long time. Is that really what you see here? Or do you see this as a way to get Iran to open up the strait, to come to negotiations, and hopefully to have new leadership that won't oppress its people, new leadership that won't make children and women line up around energy sites, which is a Geneva Convention violation?
They're lining up around energy sites, which, by the way, also, yes, a violation of Geneva Convention guidelines, because Trump is threatening them with genocide. So Trump threatens to commit genocide, threatens war crimes, and then Iran violates the Geneva Convention by weaponizing their own people as human shields, civilian human shields. And it's so funny how she's so credulous. Well, I mean, you've watched Trump a long time. He just says shit. No, I'm sorry. His words matter. You all freaked out all the damn time when President Obama wore a tan suit or put Dijon mustard on his hot dog or Joe Biden said something offensive. The same standard applies for Trump. I'm sorry that he's morally inferior and intellectually inferior to every Democratic president. That's your fault, Martha. Stop grading him on a curve. You'll always lose the debate. And by the way, Trump's efforts to manipulate Iran into opening the Strait of Hormuz, they've not worked. He has failed again and again and again. So far, he has been nothing but a relentless failure. He loses the argument every time. Maybe now things will be different, but this idea that, well, he's got this really credible track record. I mean, look at what he's done. He's done nothing but fail in Iran, which is why his approval rating on Iran is in the toilet and why he's so desperate.
You know, I think we need to look at the history of the way that President Trump negotiates these things and to see that, you know, unless you're very clear and you have a serious, you know, stick that you're holding over this situation, you're not likely to get anywhere.
Martha, you don't have to threaten genocide to get Iran to open up the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, we've lost the plot here. The president has lost the plot. The president went in to say that he wanted to free the Iranian people. Now he's talking about destroying 90 million people.
I've been speaking with Nazi-Iranian, and I've spoken with a lot of Iranian activists
and do they not
want this.
They want him to threaten to wipe out 91 million people.
I think they understand what
this is.
I don't think anyone's talking about
this. Is not a New York real estate deal. He's the president of the United States.
Yeah.
The commander-in-chief was saying we're going to kill him.
Again, you'd hear she's so defensive because she will always lose the debate. Trump is so morally and intellectually repugnant. And again, so funny. Well, what would you do to open the Strait of Hormuz? Martha, was the Strait of Hormuz open 2 months ago? Oh, it was? Well, then maybe Trump shouldn't have acted in such a way as to get it closed. Maybe it's his fault it's closed. Maybe he's to blame for it. And maybe if we want it reopened, we don't do what Trump did to get it closed in the first place. Maybe we do that. Maybe to get the Strait of Hormuz reopened, we condemn Trump for his stupidity and incompetence and try a different approach as opposed to genocide. She wants you all to believe that, oh, you know, the Strait of Hormuz just magically closed on its own volition, or apropos of nothing closed it because they wanted to damage their economy and the global economy for no damn reason. No, when they were attacked by the United States and Israel, the only advantage they had was the economic pressure they could put on the global economy, specifically the United States, by closing the Strait of Hormuz. Conventionally, their military is no match. This was eminently predictable, but Trump was too stupid, and you all were too uncritical in your support of Trump to call it out for what it was.
Leadership. Let me just clarify my question. So this is a leadership that has killed 1,500 American soldiers, maimed 4,500. They have, through proxies, carried off October 7th, the Beirut Marine barracks bombing.
Horrible.
At what point? So you really think that they're going to suddenly decide to give these things up if they're not threatened with actual consequences?
We had, before the president went in, gas was at $2.30 a gallon. It's went up to $4. Before we went in, the Strait of Hormuz was open. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Before we went in, 13 Americans had not lost their lives.
4 weeks.
And we have a situation where we've replaced Khamenei with Khamenei Jr., who is even a greater hardliner. And we've empowered the IRGC, which is a military terrorist organization. We've made Iran become a more hardline state, and the enriched uranium is still buried underground.
Okay, so let me ask you something.
So again, no defense for that whatsoever. No refutation of that. She knows he's right. Donald Trump has single-handedly inflicted American pain on the American people. Domestic economic pain. In exact contravention of everything he campaigned on. And yes, 13 service members died on his watch. It is his fault. It's stunning, this idea that, again, the Strait of Hormuz was closed before this. But it's so remarkable that she has absolutely no conception of it. Time is just this like quantum state with her. She just picks and chooses. The Strait of Hormuz was actually, Donald Trump inherited a closed Strait of Hormuz. I mean, it's probably Joe Biden's fault. Where is the agency of Trump?
Don't ever stand up and fight against this, what you just called an evil regime? What do you suggest? Because we've
Well, I
had
don't think- no,
47
I don't-
years of weakness on this front.
I don't think-
40
So again, MAGA cultist through and through. Anyone's like, well, Martha McCallum's a straight journalist. No, no, she is a diehard MAGA cultist. She may not be as obnoxious as Jesse Waters, but she is a MAGA cultist. 47 years of weakness. Okay, well, what has Donald Trump actually accomplished in the past 47 days?
47
America
years
should
of
go in and start declaring war against every evil regime in the world. Should we go and declare war against Putin? Should we go and declare war against every dictatorship? What we should have done is had tough diplomacy that would have actually gotten rid of the enriched uranium.
How has that
would
worked
have- that
so
would
far?
have
How has that worked
actually-
so far?
Well, it was working until Trump ripped
how
up
is it working?
ripped up the deals. And
Exactly, it was working until Trump ripped up the deal. And then it stopped working because Trump ripped up the deal, the Iran nuclear agreement that President Obama brokered. There was no weapons grade nuclear enriched uranium. They were complying with all the inspections. It was working. If you had a better deal in mind, feel free to offer one. But Trump ripped up the deal. Trump ripped up the deal. And the enriched uranium is still in Iran's possession. So what has he accomplished? What has he accomplished that is a tangible benefit? He has only put the United States in more harm, in more danger as a consequence of this.
So far.
Well, it was working until Trump ripped
how
up
is it working?
ripped up the deals. And the reality is, Martha, do you really believe that Iran was going to threaten New York or the American homeland? They didn't have an ICBM.
I'll tell you what I believe. I believe they already killed 1,500 of our American soldiers.
And they killed 13 more because of Donald Trump's
They killed
decision.
200
They
in a
killed
Marine
13
barracks
more,
in Lebanon.
and they
I don't
put
need
down-
any more evidence that they want to threaten. They also march in the streets, say death to America. What more evidence do you need
You're
so far?
well,
They've killed 13 more. He should have, if anything, Ro Khanna should have kept doubling down on Martha. I'm not going to let you filibuster over this. If this had been Joe Biden, if Joe Biden had got 13 service members killed fighting Iran, you would be condemning it as him starting a reckless foreign war of regime change that got 13 service members killed. Donald Trump did that in contravention of his own campaign pledges, and he is responsible. It is his fault that those 13 service members are dead. It's all his fault.
fairly reasonable. Do you believe that it was not insulting and in violation of everything we believe in to threaten to wipe out 91 million Americans? Would Ronald Reagan have ever done that? Would any other American president have ever threatened to wipe out 91 million people? I don't think Reagan did that at the height of the Cold War.
I guess what I would
FDR
say is-
probably didn't do that even when we were fighting Nazism.
What I'm looking at is.
No, but answer that question, Martha. Would FDR
I
have said,
can answer
let's
the
just
question.
wipe out the German
I
people?
can easily answer your question. I mean, we know who tried to actually wipe out entire populations in World War II.
Yes.
We know the kind of backbone and spine that it took on the part of the United States of America to end those tyrannies.
With
What I'm
morality.
seeing
With
is someone
morality.
who is
Donald
standing
Trump
up.
has no morality.
I think you have to. I'm kind of surprised actually that people haven't, that you don't get how the language works.
I get it when if he's a real estate dealer. I don't get it when you're president of the United States with the inheritance
But you're
of
more
people
concerned
who
about
steal
the
the goods of
language
Normandy.
than the outcome.
No, I'm concerned about our values. I'm
You're
concerned
concerned
that
about-
no American president would have done this. Do you think Ronald Reagan would have used this language?
No,
Do you
because
think
Ronald
FDR
Reagan isn't President
You
Trump.
think Abraham
President
Lincoln
Trump is an
would
FDR.
Do you think
Abraham
George
Lincoln.
Washington would have?
I'm
Do you think he
saying-
said, let's wipe out the British
So,
people?
you know,
Donald Trump has compromised every moral standing we have as a nation.
Love it. Again, she is just no match. She's no match. The language, you guys just don't get it. We grade Trump on a curve around here. No, we don't. There's one set of standards. You guys have to bend standards and create new standards for Trump because Trump always loses if you hold him to the same standards you hold Democrats to. You know, every Democrat is smarter than Trump, morally superior to Trump, less corrupt than Trump, more ethical than Trump. You know all that. But Trump's your guy. He has a little R next to his name, and so you're obligated to twist yourselves in knots to try to defend this shit. It's embarrassing. And again, Martha McCallum's supposed to be a straight news journalist, just losing her shit on camera because she's getting her ass kicked in a debate. You will always lose the debate, Martha. You will always lose the debate because you're a MAGA cultist, and MAGA is indefensible because Trump is morally and intellectually inferior. And even if tonight doesn't result in a genocide, which God willing it does not, even if it doesn't result in a genocide, it doesn't matter. The fact that he made the threat is the problem from a position of the highest office in the land over a war of choice that he started. He did not inherit this war. This was not in retaliation for an attack against us. He started this war in the midst of negotiations. It's his fault. For him to just do what he's done and threaten genocide is insane. It's insane.